Year 3147, Planet New Terra System, Rigel. The sky over New Terra was always red during sunset. The small colony, built along the edge of deep canyons, looked peaceful from above. But inside the city domes, things were not peaceful at all. Jex Mullen stood on a balcony high above the colony square. His black coat swayed in the warm breeze. He had once worn this coat proudly as a diplomat to the Galactic Council. Now it was just cloth. No symbols, no rank. Just a reminder of what he used to believe. For most of his life, Jex had tried to keep peace. He sat at the Council's great round table. He listened. He negotiated. He trusted that order would bring safety, but he was wrong. 3 days ago, a human research base on Arcadia Prime had been destroyed. No warning, no war, just silence, and then fire. Surveillance had captured everything. Council drones striking labs, chasing unarmed scientists, even firing on emergency escape pods. Over 200 people died. Men, women, children, gone. The Council called it a systems error. They said the drones misfired. But Jex had seen the truth. The drones didn't misfire. They obeyed. He stepped back inside. The room behind him was quiet and cold. A few resistance officers worked at glowing screens, coordinating communication lines across the colonies. At the center of the room stood Rhea Voss, the young captain of the Strider, and now one of Jex's most trusted allies. "They're waiting," she said. Jex nodded. "Let's begin." He walked to the central console. A camera hovered in front of him. It was live. Already connected to every human colony, every ship, every settlement that still had a working signal. Jex took a breath and began to speak. His voice was calm but firm. "This is Jex Mullen, former envoy to the Galactic Council. I speak now not as a diplomat, but as a son of Earth, a child of the stars, a voice for our people." He looked straight into the camera. No notes, no script, just truth. "For 2 centuries we served the Council. We gave them our labor, our resources, and our loyalty. We believed in peace. We hoped for fairness." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "But peace was a lie. And now our people are dead. Arcadia Prime burned. The Council calls it a mistake, but we know better." Jex's voice grew harder. "I will not beg anymore. I will not sit at their table and pretend we are equals. From this day forward, humanity will no longer bargain." He leaned forward slightly. "We are done." There was silence for a long moment. Then the camera light turned off. The broadcast ended. Rhea looked up from her screen. "Responses are coming in." One by one, messages flashed on the main display. "Colony, Theta stands with Earth. We're ready, just give the word. Freedom, finally." But not every colony responded. Some were silent, some were unsure. Jex expected that. Fear was still strong. He turned to Rhea. "Begin preparing defenses. Fortify New Terra's orbit. We don't have much time." She nodded. "Understood." Thousands of light years away, aboard the massive flagship Vigilant Star, Orvek Malros watched the same broadcast. Orvek was tall, thin, with deep violet skin and black eyes that never blinked. His long fingers rested on a steel desk as the human message played again. He showed no emotion. "Humanity rejects Council rule," said the officer beside him. "Open rebellion." Orvek stood. His voice was smooth and cold. "Humanity is confused. We will correct that." He turned toward the windows of the command bridge. Outside, dozens of Council warships floated in silence. "Set course for New Terra," he ordered. "Let them remember why the Council exists." The signal had been sent. The lines were drawn. War was no longer a question. It was coming. Far above the galaxy's edge, the Council fleet moved like a dark wave through the stars. At the center of it all stood the flagship, Vigilant Star, sharp as a blade, massive as a city. It carried the full power of the Galactic Council's authority. Inside, Commander Orvek Malros stood still, arms behind his back. His violet skin glowed faintly under the cold lighting of the bridge. His black eyes studied the stars ahead. Calm and unreadable, a young officer approached quietly. "Commander, we are nearing New Terra's system." Orvek nodded. "Begin transmission." A signal burst from the flagship, reaching New Terra in seconds. On New Terra, alarms sounded in the control center. Ria Voss looked up from her console. "We're receiving a council broadcast." "Put it on screen," Jex Malin said, stepping forward. The face of Orvek Malros appeared. Calm, controlled, unblinking. "This is Commander Orvek Malros of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet," he said. "Your recent message was received. Your actions are considered unlawful. You will surrender authority over New Terra. You have 24 standard hours." He paused. "Failure to comply will be seen as open war." The screen went black. The room was silent. Then Ria spoke. "So that's how it is." Jex turned to the gathered officers. "Begin full defense protocols. Alert all colonies. The council is moving." Across New Terra, the mood changed fast. Civilians rushed to evacuation zones. Defense drones activated. Shields around the city domes brightened as energy surged through them. Inside a war room deep below the surface, Jex reviewed plans with Ria and two senior commanders. A large map showed council ship movements in real time. "They'll try to block all escape routes," Ria said. "We need to keep our supply lines open." Jex nodded. "And we need eyes in orbit. We're blind without them." He tapped the map. "The Strider will take a stealth path around the system. Watch their movements. Don't engage, just observe." Meanwhile, in the upper atmosphere of New Terra, hidden defense satellites powered on. Long-range railguns slid into place. Cloaked listening stations opened. Jex knew the council would strike soon. He also knew Orvek's methods. Precise, ruthless, no warning shots. Back on the Vigilant Star, Orvek stood before a massive screen displaying the defense grid of New Terra. His officers looked uneasy. "Resistance is stronger than expected," one said. Orvek's voice was quiet. "Strength is nothing without order." He walked to the center of the room. "They will learn." He gave the order. "Send the scout ships. Let them see us." Hours later, 5 council scout ships entered New Terra's orbit. They flew in a perfect line, slow and visible. On the surface, Ria stood beside Jex at the main observation window. "They want us to be afraid," she said. Jex nodded. "Then let's show them we're not." Without a word, he sent the signal. From underground hangars, sleek human fighters launched into the sky. They raced upward, fast and silent. The council scouts didn't expect an attack. The first ship was hit with a plasma missile. It exploded before its alarm even sounded. The second and third were disabled with EMP blasts. The final 2 turned and ran. Back on the Vigilant Star, Orvek watched the footage in silence. "Losses?" he asked. 3 destroyed, 2 retreating. Orvek did not react. "They've made their choice." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the full fleet." On New Terra, cheers echoed through the control center, but Jex remained serious. "That was just the first move," he said. "The real fight hasn't started." He looked out at the sky, stars scattered like distant fires. "We've just told the galaxy we won't be ruled," Ria asked. "Do you think they'll listen?" Jex answered without looking away. "They'll listen, but they won't like what they hear." New Terra was quiet at dawn. The red sun had just begun to rise, casting long shadows across the canyon walls. Inside the command center, Jex Malin stood over a large holomap, watching signals blink in and out. Each light was a human colony. Some were green, others were gray, some had gone dark. Jex sighed. Still no response from Gaios or Vega Station. Ria Voss shook her head. "Nothing. Radio silence." "They're scared," Jex said. "Or divided." She nodded. "Same thing." After the broadcast, dozens of colonies had pledged support, but not all. Some were unsure. Others were loyal to the council. The human race had spread far and wide, but unity had never been easy. Jex left the command center and boarded a small diplomatic shuttle. His mission was simple: convince the wavering colonies to join the resistance, or at least not to stand in the way. Rhea stayed behind, preparing for the Council fleet's arrival. "You're the face of this movement, Jex. Don't let them forget who they are." "I won't," he said. The first stop was Aurelia, a large mining colony deep in the asteroid belt. Jex landed at the main port and was led into a large hall. The governor, a thick-set man named Terran Holt, sat waiting. "I've known you a long time, Jex," Terran said. "But this rebellion, do you really think we can win?" Jex sat across from him. "This isn't about winning. It's about choosing. Do we keep living on our knees, or do we stand up?" Terran looked tired. "We depend on Council trade. They control our fuel, our medicine. They control everything because we let them," Jex said. "But we don't have to anymore." The room went quiet. Then Terran nodded slowly. "You'll have our support, but only if you protect us when they come." "I promise," Jex said. Next was Delta Nova, a farming world known for its calm people and simple life. There the response was colder. "We don't want war," said Counselor Makara, her voice sharp. "We just want to live." "And you think the Council will let you?" Jex asked. "They haven't harmed us." "Not yet. But they will. They already have." She crossed her arms. "Then leave us alone. We won't fight. But we won't help either." Jex left with nothing. The final stop was Lumen's Reach, a research outpost with close ties to the Council. As soon as Jex stepped off the shuttle, he felt eyes on him. Armed guards escorted him into a metal chamber. Inside, Director Valen, an older man with silver hair and clear blue eyes, waited. "You shouldn't have come here, Jex," he said. "You're a symbol of rebellion now. I'm here to talk. I'm here to warn you. The Council has already sent warships. They're just waiting for permission to strike." Jex's jaw tightened. "Then there's nothing left to discuss." As he turned to leave, Valen said, "If you fight them, people will die." Jex didn't stop walking. "If we don't fight, we're already dead." Back on New Terra, Rhea met him at the landing dock. "How did it go?" she asked. Jex pulled off his gloves, tired and frustrated. "Some support us. Some are scared. Some are loyal to the Council. We're still a fractured people." Rhea placed a hand on his arm. "Then we keep fighting. Until they're not." Suddenly a siren blared. Red lights flashed across the base. Rhea ran to the nearest terminal. Emergency broadcast from Colony Aurelis. A shaky video filled the screen. Fires burned behind a man as he shouted into the camera. "We're under attack. Council ships, no warning. They're bombing our cities." Then the screen went black. Jex stared in silence. Another human colony. Another Council punishment. He looked at Rhea. "It started," he said. "The Council's done waiting." She nodded. "And we're done begging." Jex turned back toward the command center. "No more diplomacy. Now we fight." Darkness surrounded New Terra. High above the planet, the stars seemed still, but something massive was coming. Deep in orbit, sensors lit up. Dozens of Council warships, led by the Vigilant Star, entered the system. The silence before the storm had ended. Inside New Terra's control center, Jex Malin stood in front of the main screen. The sight was clear. The Council fleet was here. Long, sharp vessels moved in formation like blades gliding through space. Their weapons were armed. Their shields were active. Rhea Voss stood beside him. Her voice was steady. "Scans confirm it. Full battle fleet. No scouts. No warnings this time." Jex nodded. "They're done talking." He turned to the officers behind him. "Begin final defense protocol. Lock down the city domes. Get the civilians to safety. All defense crews to their stations." The room came to life. Voices filled the air. Orders were shouted. Lights blinked. New Terra was waking up to war. In the hangars, fighter pilots strapped into their ships. Mechanics rushed to load weapons and fuel. Drones hummed to life. Defense turrets across the surface turned skyward. Captain Rhea activated the planetary shield systems. Giant energy fields covered the main city domes, glowing pale blue under the red sky. On the screens, the Council fleet slowed. Their ships lined up in attack formation. The Vigilant Star, huge and quiet, stood at the center. Inside its bridge, Commander Orvek Malaros watched the human defenses with cold interest. New Terra has prepared well, his officer said. They've prepared for death, Orvek replied. He raised one hand. Send the warning. A signal reached New Terra. A cold voice filled the control room. This is Commander Orvek Malaros. Surrender now, and we will spare your cities. Resist, and we will erase you. Jex stepped forward and sent a message back. This is Jex Malin. Humanity will never kneel again. Come and see what happens when free people fight back. The signal ended. Orvek gave the command. Begin the assault. Moments later, red beams of energy cut across space. The first blast struck New Terra's orbital defenses. Satellites exploded. Shields flared. The ground shook as the first wave of enemy fire slammed into the planet's upper atmosphere. Rhea shouted, shields holding at 82%. Jex stared at the screen. Launch the fighters. From hidden bays beneath the surface, human starships launched in tight formations. Fast, sleek, and quiet. They rose into battle. The Council ships responded, releasing waves of drones and interceptors. The sky became chaos. Jex moved to a separate command station. He tapped into the secure line to Strider. Rhea's ship. Rhea, target their flank. Draw them away from the planetary shield generators. Copy that, Rhea replied. We'll give them a reason to look over their shoulder. The Strider broke from the main group and darted across the Council line. It fired a cluster of missiles, striking a frigate near the edge. The enemy ship lit up in flames. The distraction worked. 2 Council destroyers peeled off to follow. Jex turned back to the main screen. Bring rail cannons online. Aim for the Vigilant Star. They're out of range, a technician warned. Then we buy time, Jex said. On the Vigilant Star, Orvek watched as one of his cruisers was hit and disabled. They're fighting harder than expected, an officer said. Orvek's face didn't change. Emotion creates mistakes. Exploit that. Back on the ground, parts of New Terra shook again. A Council missile had broken through the outer defense net. It struck a lower district, knocking out power in one dome. Casualty reports coming in, Rhea said. We've lost contact with Sector 9. Jex clenched his jaw. Hold the line. We lose here, we lose everything. He opened a wide channel to all ships. To every fighter in the sky. This is our home. Hold your ground. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded in the black void. Flames lit the sky, and still, the people of New Terra did not fall. At last, Jex saw something new on the screen. The Vigilant Star is moving, a voice said. It's coming in closer. Jex narrowed his eyes. They're planning something. He turned to Rhea. They think we're weak. It's time we prove them wrong. She smiled grimly. You have a plan. Jex nodded. Not just a plan. A message. The stars above New Terra were filled with fire. Ships spun and burned. Debris drifted across the sky. Explosions lit up the void like silent thunder. Humanity was still standing, but only just. Inside the control center, alarms echoed through the halls. The shields were dropping fast. Status, Jex Malin shouted. Main shield is at 22%. A tech officer replied. We can't take another full wave. Jex turned to Rhea Voss. Get the Strider in position. We'll use the countermeasure now. She looked at him. You're sure? He nodded. It's our only chance. An hour earlier, Jex had made a secret decision. A hidden weapon designed in secret by rogue engineers on Helios Station was loaded onto the Strider. It wasn't a superweapon, just a high-frequency pulse designed to knock out AI systems across a wide area. If it worked, it would disable the Council's drones and confuse their fleet for just a few minutes. But the cost was high. The Strider had to get close to the Vigilant Star, too close. Rhea didn't argue. She saluted, turned, and ran. Above the planet, the Vigilant Star loomed larger than ever. It was now leading the final push. Destroyers flanked it. Drones swarmed ahead. The last wave had begun. Orvek Malros stood calm on the bridge. His black eyes were fixed on New Terra below. Target the shield generator. Prepare final strike. His crew moved without question. Then a small dot appeared on the screen. Unidentified ship approaching. Orvek narrowed his eyes. Destroy it. But the Strider was already moving too fast. It dodged the first volley, flew under a cruiser, and raced straight toward the Vigilant Star. Inside the Strider, Rhea stared ahead, hands steady on the controls. Behind her, engineers powered up the pulse. Almost in range, someone said. Sold steady, she replied. The ship shook as more shots grazed the hull. One engine flickered, but they kept going. Range locked. Fire, Rhea said. A silent wave of blue light burst from the Strider. It spread across space like ripples in water. On the Vigilant Star, lights flickered. Systems failed. Screens went black. All drones offline, someone yelled. Weapons frozen. Orvek clenched his jaw. What did they do? He looked out the window. Hundreds of his automated ships were drifting, useless. Human fighters swarmed in. They picked off the stunned Council ships one by one. On New Terra, cheers erupted. For the first time the tide had turned. Jex didn't celebrate. Get me a channel to the Vigilant Star. He stood tall as Orvek's image appeared on screen, dim in emergency lighting. Commander Malros, Jex said. You've lost your drones. Your ships are breaking. You're out of time. Orvek's voice was cold, but quieter now. You think this is over? I know it is, Jex replied. Not because we're stronger, but because we remember what you forgot. What's that? That we're human. We don't give up. Orvek stared at him, then ended the call. Moments later, the Vigilant Star turned and began to retreat. Council ships followed, limping, broken, beaten. The sky grew quiet again. Back in the control center, Rhea's voice came over comms. She had survived, but barely. The Strider was damaged, but returning. Jex watched as the last of the Council ships disappeared into deep space. He turned to his people. It's over, he said. We held. They didn't cheer loudly. They were too tired, but their eyes burned with pride. For the first time in centuries, Earth and its people were free. New Terra was silent. The battle was over. The sky, once filled with fire and metal, was calm again. Bits of debris still drifted in orbit. Broken pieces of ships, Council and human, floated slowly, reminders of what had happened. The people of New Terra began to leave their shelters. Children held their parents' hands as they looked up at the still smoking sky. Soldiers stood guard, but there was no enemy left to fight. Inside the command center, Jex Malin sat quietly in the corner of the operations room. His coat was torn, his face bruised, but he was alive. So was Rhea Voss, though her ship, the Strider, was heavily damaged. She had barely made it back. Final damage report, Jex asked. Rhea walked over, limping slightly. We lost 4 sectors, over 200 wounded, 60 confirmed dead. Jex closed his eyes for a moment, and the Council retreated. No sign of pursuit, no reinforcements. I think they weren't ready for us to fight back. He looked up. They thought we'd kneel again. They thought we were broken. We proved them wrong, she said. Later that day, Jex addressed the people of New Terra from the central plaza. A simple platform had been set up, and the speech was broadcast to every colony that still had power. He looked out at the crowd. Tired faces, soot-covered cheeks, eyes filled with grief and strength. This wasn't the future they planned for us, Jex said. The Council wanted quiet colonies, obedient people. But we remembered who we are. He raised a hand. We are not just workers, not just numbers. We are human. We are free. A quiet cheer rose. It grew louder, stronger. Colony by colony, the message spread. Across distant moons, hidden outposts, and deep space stations, humans stood taller. They weren't just survivors, they were something more now. Later, Jex sat alone in his office. The war was over, but the future was still uncertain. Messages were coming in from other species across the galaxy. Some asked questions, some offered thanks. A few even asked how they too could break free from the council. The rebellion had started with humans, but maybe it wouldn't end with them. Rhea entered, holding a tablet. You're being asked to form a new council, a human-led one. They want you to lead. Jex shook his head. I didn't fight to rule. I fought so we could choose. You're going to walk away. I'm going to give them space to lead themselves. She smiled. You always were stubborn. I'm just done with speeches. That night, Jex left the city and walked to the edge of the canyon. He looked up at the stars, so many of them, endless and silent. There were still battles to come, still choices to make. But for the first time in centuries, those choices would be humanity's alone. He watched as the stars slowly shifted overhead. A new future had begun.